Hi everyone, welcome back to another video. And in today, we're talking about propane. Now, Coleman's propane, if you're using propane adapters and stuff for GBBRs, you know, we're a heavily influenced GBBR channel, so Coleman's propane is the best propane off the shelf that you can use for your GBBR airsoft replicas. The thing is with Coleman's propane, when I first started using it years ago with the Airsoft Innovations propane adapters, the difference there was these were costing me about £12, £13 for one of these bottles. Now, they say on there about 453 grams. I'm not sure whether that refers to the weight of the bottle or how much propane's in there, but they're usually generally about a kilo. These have obviously gone up in price over the years. There was a mass shortage of them like a good few years ago where you just couldn't get it anywhere. Now, you know, on average, unless you go to somewhere like Go Outdoors and you've got a membership card, these things will cost you upwards of like £25 a bottle. To which you'd be saying to yourself, is it still the best option? Because it's getting to the point where it's not cheaper than green gas anymore. Now, as a propellant for GBBRs, this is a much better option than over-the-counter green gas options that these airsoft companies sell you. Now, there are companies out there that do different PSI pressures now in gases. You've got, you know, some that I think Nuprol calls it like their V6, V12 or whatever. And then you've got the, I can't remember if it was the Cybergun one, where it's one of the brands anyway, where they put the PSI on the bottle, so it's like 120, 150, 175. And the thing is, the pressure isn't really the problem. It's all the additives that they put in there. The main thing that goes against you is they put silicone oil in there. And when you're running GBBRs, let's say you're doing like full auto and such as well, you know, you're doing a burst of auto, you know, they can throw that oil over your hot rubbers. So a dry gas like propane, in my opinion, is the best way to go if you're predominantly running GBBRs, GBB pistols and such. So I've been running Coleman's now for, God, back when I was getting it from a local shop in Birmingham, which has got to be like 8-10 years ago. Obviously I moved away from GBBRs and I've come back, you know, years later. So the best place to get this in the UK at the moment, now you might find more places where this is available in the US for cheaper. The best place to get this stuff in the UK at the moment is Go Outdoors, get yourself a membership card, and I think even then it's still like £20 or so, so you get like a bit of discount. But you know, doing all the videos that I do on GBBRs and all the content that I record, especially with the Jaeger tests and stuff, I'm going through this like no one's business. I recently bought like 7 bottles of this stuff, and this is the last fresh bottle that I have. I did I did experiment with refilling. Now they do say that you shouldn't refill these things. So I did experiment with that years ago, and I think it was more of a case of the problem with the propane that I got. I was talking to, I'm going to get into the whole story of it, but long and short of it, the propane was no good, or it didn't perform as good. So I was like, right, I'm going to revisit it because I've got absolutely shed loads of these empty bottles and I don't really feel right chucking them away because it's a big chunk of metal. You're creating tons of waste. Is there a better way? So in my day job in the motor trade, we have a supplier that brings big, you know, the huge propane bottles that we use for our secondary paint booths and stuff. And I was talking to the delivery guys there, telling them about what I said, and they said like, yeah, a couple of years ago there was a mass thing where people were having issues with propane, not sure what it was. I asked him if the stuff that they sell was pure, and he said yes. So it'd been a couple of weeks, and today I was like, right, let's see if this is actually something that will work, and then we're going to compare, you know, normal off-the-shelf Coleman's propane to one that's refilled. This video is for educational purposes only. I'm not telling anyone to do this. I'm not telling you to do this. This is just an experiment for the video. They clearly do say on these bottles, do not refill them. But you know me, we're going to see if we can get that. So today I headed down to the local gas supply place. Walked in there, just said, look, I need some propane. You guys deliver to, you know, our motor trade business. and he asked that good old question where he was like, what do you want to use it for? Like, what do you use it for heating stuff? And I thought, I'm just going to be honest with the guy. I said, no, I use it to power guns. And it must have caught him completely off guard, something that he'd never thought of before, because he started asking me questions. And then we started having a conversation and getting into it, and he was very inquisitive and, you know, wanted to know more about it. So I was explaining, you know, the GBR system, how it works, how it diverts gas, and then how the guns work, and why, you know, all the airsoft products that sell this in like the thin cans, it's basically propane with additives added. So he said, right, come this way, come into the yard, we're going to show you what we got. So I was looking at an 11 kilo propane tank, which you've got to pay like a deposit on the canisters themselves, like the tanks. So that's like a 40 quid deposit, which is just, you pay it once and then you exchange the bottles. If you decide that you don't want it anymore, you drop your bottle back, you get your deposit back. So once that deposit's paid, it's like 40 quid. He said the 11 kilo bottle is going to cost you £32, including the VAT. I was like, okay. He said, however, and this is the reason why I asked you, our 19 kilo bottle will cost you £36. So it's only a little bit more, but you're getting an extra 8 kilos of propane. And I was like, right, okay, let's do it. So we talked through that. We had a good natter about guns, because he was a shooter as well. Not airsoft, but I was just explaining to him all that stuff. So I've got all that stuff home. I bought a fill-in adapter years ago, which I bought off AliExpress. They're easy to find. And we're going to see if we can get these filled up. Now, there's loads of videos of people online filling these things up, where they're putting the bottles in the freezer for overnight or whatever, 24 hours, and then coming and filling them. I ain't going to do that, because I've got a better method. A bit more of a smelly method, but I think it's a better method. And, you know, your big propane tanks is basically something similar shape to this, but it's obviously much bigger. There are two versions of propane tanks that you can get from most suppliers. So you've got the normal fed propane tanks, which you'd use for your barbecues, heaters, all that stuff. And then they've got the forklift variants, which if they're a red bottle, they've got a black top. Now in the forklift variants, they have a tube that comes out and down like this, because on a forklift, the tank sits on the side, so it's always drawing the liquid propane from the bottom there. And then it goes into a vape. It was explaining this to me, because I didn't know anything about forklifts, but he was explaining to me, you know, it feeds from the bottom, it feeds the liquid propane, goes into a vaporizer, then it goes into the engine. He was really nice to talk to this bloke, actually. So he's like, right, you know, you need the ones with the red tops. There's no pipe inside of it, and I managed to pick one up. So it was a £40 deposit, £36 for the tank, and then I just get the refills when I go back. Sorry, I know it's a bit of a story, but I just want to, you know, get you through the mindset that I'm in at the moment. So this is, you know, an off-the-shelf Coleman's propane bottle. It's got the adapter on already. This is going to be, you know, the sort of the testers. Like, this is what we're going to need to get it to. Can we refill these tanks with propane and get similar or the same, similar or better or worse performance, whatever the case is? So I've got a couple of empties here. Once they get to about 10-15% on these bottles, they really stop feeding. I think they must have, because when they start to get low, they must have a tube or something that comes out into the bottle, which stops you filling in liquid propane rather than the gas. So I've got some tanks here, and we're going to go fill these up. I'm going to head into the garage. Bear in mind, it's probably not going to be the best camera work, so you just have to bear with me. And we're going to go through things you should keep in mind for safety, best ways of filling them, and also there's over all these Coleman's bottles that I've got an absolute shed load of them all over the place that are empty. It's not always a case of they're always able to be filled up. Like, you'll be able to fill some up, and then you'll get one that no matter what you do, no matter how much you chill it, no matter what method you use, it just won't accept it. And if you get one that's like that, just set it to one side, make sure it's empty, and then dispose of it properly. Because every now and again you'll get one that just, no matter what you do, it won't refill. So I'm going to head into the garage now. It's going to be a bit of a mess, and I'm going to show you the method that I use to refill these propane cans. So here you'll see the size difference. That's a 1 kilo propane from Coleman's. This is a 19 kilo tank. Now this is Flow Gas branded, but it was from the local supplier, and the adapter pipe that I'll be using looks like this. I got one with a long hose, because what we're going to want to do is when it's plugged in, we're going to want the bottle as low down from the valve as possible to make sure the liquid gas is flowing into it. So don't mind the mess here. I'm currently just clearing a load of stuff out so everything's through on the bench, but I thought I'd record this because some of you might find it useful. So I'm going to plug the adapter on. It goes on reverse threads, and then we're going to prep the Coleman's bottle to accept some propane. Got little scales here so you can see they're set to 0. This is a pretty empty bottle of Coleman's propane. It's coming in at 588 grams ish, so it means there's a bit of propane in there. Here's one that I filled earlier just to check that this works, and you can see that's coming in. Hopefully you can see these bloody scales at 1061.6 grams. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to have to chill this. Now there's a lot of videos online that tell you, you know, putting it in the freezer, filling it up, putting it back in the freezer. I ain't got time for that. You ain't got time for that. So the way that I do it, and you have to make sure you're in a well ventilated area, just use something to press the valve down, and what you're going to do is you're going to empty the gas and then give the can a shake. So as you know, as you're emptying it, every now and again shake it up to agitate the liquid propane, and then carry on purging it. And this can is going to get so freaking cold, colder than it will if you just put it in the freezer, even if it's in the freezer for 24 hours. Back from when I was doing this before with the other propane can, this is going to get so freaking cold. You need to make sure you've got some nice thick gloves. You need to protect yourself because this thing will frost burn your hands. Also use it, the way I do it is I have like a little thing that I just put on an angle, and I just use some pliers to press it like that, and it keeps my hands out the way of any exhaust propane gas coming out the can. So I'm going to chill this, and then we're going to come back so you can see what it looks like. So you can see here, I've emptied it. This is frozen, that's frozen. This is so cold that it's uncomfortable to touch even with gloves on, so you do have to be careful. This is a much faster way of doing it. I'm going to pop it back on the scales, and you'll see it's at 507.3. Try and do this with one hand. I'm going to load it onto the adapter. Sorry if you're out of shot here. Should have bought the tripod, wasn't thinking. So I'm going to thread the propane bottle on like that. And what you want to listen out for now is when you turn this valve on, then it makes a noise. So see how that's hardly made a noise at all? What that means is this is going to be one that doesn't want to fill. So this one is a dud. I've got my second bottle here. This is ice cold. This hurts to hold it if you're holding on to it for too long. So again, be careful. Second bottle here. It's coming in at 525 completely chilled. Let's get this thing screwed on if we can. Sorry for the bad camera angle again. I don't want to really do, I'm trying not to do a lot of cuts because people will say, oh, you've switched the bottle out, or you've done this, or you've done that. So the first bottle was a dud, meaning it wouldn't fill. The second bottle, let's give it a go. And you can hear that noise. And that noise basically means the liquid is flowing into that tank from the big tank above. Sometimes you can hear like the bubbling of the gas escaping. You can see these three here are ones I've tried. They won't fill. No point messing about with them. Just go onto your other tanks. And you can see here, I've already filled 5. This will be number 6. Hopefully you can hear that. That like gurgling motion. And basically you just want to leave this until it stops filling. And then once it stops filling, check it on the scales. Years ago I did this, and I did manage to fill one of these up to 1200 grams. I think normally around the sort of 1030 to 1050 upwards to 1100 you're okay. I've never had any adverse effects of it. Some of the ones up here are the old cans that I had. So these I actually painted white on the bottom, just to distinguish that these were the refills. but this propane that I filled these up with was bad and it didn't work all that well. So I'm hoping that the flow gas does what it needs to do. While we're waiting for this to fill up, I did have the garage door open to do this, but I've now closed it just because it's cold outside, and you won't hear as much of the stuff that's going on out there. If anyone's interested, nice little motorbike there, KTM Duke 890. I did want to show this off on the channel, but I wasn't sure whether people would be interested in looking at that, being as we're an airsoft channel. People don't like any difference. So filling these 6 tanks up, if I just went on the internet and bought 6 tanks of propane, that would have been 150 quid. Yeah, 25, 50, 75, 100, 125, 150. Yeah, so, you know, at the more expensive or average place of £25, these 6 bottles will have just cost me, I don't know, 150 quid in propane. Filling them up, now we're filling them up to, you know, sort of 1050, down from like 500. So you're like 550 grams that you're getting in each one. And yeah, we'll do some costings and figure out the difference in price between doing it this way and buying the new ones in just a moment when we're back inside. But as you'll hear it now, that's stopped filling. We turn that valve off. You're going to get a bit of gas come out as you take the adapter off. Trying to do this with one hand is kind of difficult. So tiny little puff of gas, and then we're going to shove it back on the scales. This is the same can, and you can see we're there at 1050.6. So we're back up to a kilo. We can put this with the rest of them, and now we've got 6 full propane cans. Now, what the best thing to do now is, once you've filled them up like this, let them equalize, leave them in a safe area, like in a garage or something, not in your house, because as they warm up, if there's any overpressure, they will leak a little bit out of these top side valves. So always let them normalize. Once they're back to normal, they're pretty safe, to be honest. But, you know, this is a much better method, purging the gas to chill them, because each time I've done this, what that means is, you know, I've purged the gas, they've got super cold, I've filled them up, and they've gone to like 1050, 1060, 1100 grams straight away. Doing it by the freezer method, like, not only are you going to piss your missus off by having loads of propane cans in the freezer, you put them in the freezer, you come outside, you fill them up, then you have to go back in the freezer, come outside, fill them up again, because it's not freezing them down enough. We're using physics here to basically use what plagues GBBRs, cool down, to rapidly chill the bottles, and yeah, we can fill them up in one hit rather than the others. The ones that don't fill, just you know, get rid of the gas and dispose of them at your local disposal site or whatever. Just make sure you do it the right way. So yeah, guys, you have to excuse the messy video style in this one. I wasn't really sure how I was going to do it, and you know me, I like to do it videos in a very minimalistic, in terms of doesn't need much editing type of way. We've got our fresh Coleman's propane bottle as we'd buy it from Go Outdoors, and we've got our refilled one. Now this has normalised in temperature, just a bit of condensation there from the process. So I'm going to stick some ink on that to make sure. In fact, let's do it now, otherwise I'm going to forget. So I'm just going to use a bit of brown tape, because the last thing you want to do is mix these things up. A bit of tape. I'm going to stick it around the bottle like that, just so we can tell which one's the refilled one. Now, like I said, if we refilled 6 bottles like that, or if we went and bought them off the shelf from the average price, I mean, like I say, there are cheap places you can get it from, like Go Outdoors if you become a member. But, you know, prices on the web, usually it's either like £25 or 2 for 50, where they're normally like 27. I've seen them as high as like 27, 28. So if we was to go buy 6 bottles off the web at £25, it's going to cost us 150 quid. 150 quid? No, not quite 100. 150 quid, I think. Yeah. Quick maths. It's going to be people in the comments now saying I'm wrong, but I think I'm right. So 150 quid. We've just filled up 6 cans. So I think on average they took about 550 grams. So when you think about the cost, I'm going to put the cost up in the screen here because I'll have the cost of the bottle that I'll break down as well. So I'll put it on an overlay of the screen right now. The cost per refill, and obviously the cost of the tank and everything like that. So you'll see it is far cheaper. But we're not going to stop there. If you guys like this video, if it's helped you in any way, make sure to like the video and comment down below if you want a part 2. And in part 2, if you guys want it, I'm basically going to fill a ton of different guns up with, each gun is going to have 2 magazines. It's going to have one filled from this and one filled from the unmolested bottle as well. And we're going to see, is there any difference in chrono, in power? Is there any difference in chrono FP, like variance? Is there any difference in efficiency? Is there any difference in rate of fire? All of that stuff. If you want it, I'll do it. So let me know in the comments below if you want me to do a part 2. If you do, I will. But that's basically how it's done. You know, there's going to be a difference compared to where you are in the world as to what you can get the propane for. You just need to keep an eye out for where there's propane. They mix like butane and other gases into it. You just want pure propane, as pure as you can get it. And the adapter, again, I got it off AliExpress. Try and find one that looks the same. I have no more information on that, so don't ask me below. I just browsed AliExpress and it was on there. I think it was like $10, $12. Very inexpensive. So I picked that up and I've had it for a few years. So the one thing I will say is if you get one of them adapters, the one I've got has got the lever on the bottom, because the last thing you want to be doing is turning the valve on the bottom of the big can that's upside down. It's quite difficult, so you have to sort of like angle it up, open the valve, get a line that's got that open close valve on like mine, and it's going to be much easier for you. And just remember, if you chill a can and you put it on that adapter and you go to fill it and nothing happens, there's no sound, just get rid of it. There's no point pulling you out of it. In my experience, if it's not going to accept gas, it's not going to accept gas. There's a lot of people as well, just before I go, that have been buying the thin blue bottles. There's like companies like Go Propane, Rothenberger, Salvus that people have been trying in the Discord. And even if you're just going to buy stuff off the shelf, those bottles do not work the same way that the Coleman's do. They don't fill as much gas. They don't have as much throughput. And in I think 1 in 100, like 1% of those bottles I've had work. The other 99% just don't. So I'd steer clear of them. Thanks for tuning in this video. Hope you like it. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Get involved by using the link in the description to join the Discord and come and chat to us on a daily basis if you're free. As always, from me and Bench, we'll see you in the next video.